Hey folks, it's Cement once again. Welcome back to another review. And this is the last review for a very nice guy named Tony who had sent me a bunch of stuff. He wanted me to review one, but I'm like, I'm not really getting into this flick. I know the review would suck. And he's like, no, that's no problem. How about you review this film, which I had in my collection and I've loved it ever since I first saw it. And this is a 1997 film, of course, as you see, called The Relic. And I know the same year you had another film called Mimic with Mira Sorvino, directed by Guillermo del Toro, which I think this film gets confused with a few times. I've never had that confusion, but I've reviewed Mimic and its sequels. I like Mimic, but I also really love this film. And again, if you want to hear my review of Mimic, and see, the reason I brought those up is 90s films tend to get a bad rap that, oh, they sucked for horror films, but I disagree. I can find plenty of horror films and monster movies, creature features from the 90s that I absolutely enjoy. Stephen King's Graveyard Shift and Tremors, and I have fun with Deep Blue Sea, Deep Rising I enjoy. I mentioned Mimic. And this flick, I mean, even got 2 thumbs up from Siskel and Ebert, surprisingly enough. It's directed by Peter Hyams, who I like as a director. He did Outland, which is my favorite Sean Connery film, Time Cop, which is a fun Van Damme flick, 2010, which I thought was a very solid sequel to 2001, and I know I've reviewed Outland, I've reviewed Time Cop. He did Running Scared with Billy Crystal and Gregory Hines, which I think I reviewed, I can't remember, but I have fun with that movie. Like I said, I really like the sequel 2010 with Roy Scheider. I think that's an underrated sequel. Stay tuned, that's a film I want to review one day. That's a fun flick with John Ritter. Peter Hyams has done a lot of great stuff. He's definitely one of my favorite directors. I think I did a top 10 list of favorite directors, and he was on there. If I didn't, I want to do that one day. But Peter Hyams, there's not too many films that he made that I wasn't a fan of. And this is definitely one of my favorites that Peter Hyams ever made. Stan Winston, the great Stan Winston, we miss you, who worked on Creature Effects. Before I get any further, why do I like this film or love this film? I think it gets a bad rap. I think it's an underrated flick. This cover is pretty lame. It's pretty generic, shitty cover. I like the VHS cover where it's in red, but it's a big budget R-rated monster movie, which I think is well photographed, has a bunch of adult characters, look like it's a film that would have gone to theaters, has a great mix of practical effects and some decent CGI work, and you're not going to see that anymore. I mean, wow, a big budget R-rated monster movie. How many times can you say you've seen that go to theaters? You have a capable director behind it. You have, like I said, adult characters, not teenagers, not kids that would be on a fucking magazine. Adult characters in a situation where other stuff I love about the film, great creature design by Stan Winston. I already mentioned this, but fun, really cool practical effects by Stan Winston. And it has a mix of some pretty decent CGI work for 1997. I think it has a cool location. It takes place in the uh, Natural History Museum in Chicago. I thought that was a really cool location. The lighting, I know some people have a problem with the lighting being too dark, but I never had a problem with it. I thought it was well photographed by Peter Hyams. I know he wanted the lighting to be realistic, and to me, I thought this did it the right way. I thought it made it an atmospheric flick. You want to see that done horribly, Alien vs. Predator Requiem has how you do that shit horribly. I thought this was done very well. The score by, I believe, John Debney was very fitting. Literally, it fit the film like a glove. I really enjoyed the score to this movie. I always forget this is produced by Gail Ann Hurd, who worked with James Cameron on many flicks. Weirdly enough, one of the people who did the screenplay, Amy Holden Jones, I swear she like directed one of the Slumber Party Massacre films. I swear that's the case. That Amy Holden Jones, that name sounds so familiar. Could just look it up, but too lazy. And I also like a lot of the cast, especially Tom Sizemore. This is my favorite role that he's ever played as Lieutenant D'Augusta, who is a cop who's easy to root for, but I like his character trait that he's also very superstitious as well. And just it taking place in a Chicago museum. Some supporting characters like Linda Hunt. It's nice to see her. I like her. She's a good character actress. Good effects. I think some very nice moody, I'll say it in atmospheric lighting. Again, I know some people say that it's hard to see what's going on, but again, I thought it fit the film well. And in a way, it's more realistic lighting, but again, you want to see that done horribly, AVPR. I never got bored with it, and after watching, when I saw the film, I knew I was watching a great flick. When I sat down and watched the end credits and just listened to the creepy music. And I don't know, the music gave me kind of an alien vibe a little bit. And maybe that's because Peter Hyams, I know, is a big fan of Alien, and he wanted to do sort of his sort of Alien, but kind of like Jaws type of movie, but in a museum. And I thought he did a great job with it. And like I said, it's one of those monster movies that no one really talks about. I know a really good guy on here who has a YouTube channel, Good Bad Flicks. He did a great job reviewing this film. He's a fan of it. I have a couple little quibbles with it, which I'll get to. One, the actress Penelope Ann Miller. I think she does okay, but I don't think she's great. I just think she's okay. But I will say I thought Mira Sorvino did a much better job in Mimic. And part of me wishes that she would have done this film. But, you know, she can't do both at the same time. But Elizabeth Shue, who I thought did a great job in films like Hollow Man, it would have been nice to see her in this kind of flick. Because I like Elizabeth Shue as an actress. Even someone like Vivica A. Fox. I guess that came to mind because she had done Independence Day, and usually she did little supporting roles. I don't mind her as an actress. It would have been nice to see what she would have done with the role. I think Vivica A. Fox is a pretty decent actress. I just think there are other actresses that would have been better than Penelope Ann Miller. Again, Penelope Ann Miller is not awful. She does okay, but again, she's not great either. But at least there's Tom Sizemore. The only other two little problems I have with the film is one, it's kind of weird that you have a big fucking monster. That yes, it does seem to teleport everywhere. It's like, how the hell did it get there? How the hell did it get here? And also the way the monster is killed. I would prefer if both of these characters killed the monster instead of just having the woman do it. And that's not me being sexist. It's just I like the Tom Sizemore character more than Penelope Ann Miller. So it would have been nice if he could have done. They could have had him do more to actually kill the creature, like have it be a team effort. But again, that's just me being a little bit greedy about that. I know one thing people complain about is when Penelope Ann Miller, she gets into this water and she's like, why is she dead? There's a scene before that said that it rips the flesh off of this. And I'm like, well, if you watch the scene closely, she talks about, it's of course a history museum, they're looking at bones and such. They skin it And then that tub is only warm water. They even just say it's just warm water that they put it in, and they just wait for it to fall off because it's warm water. And then there's another room where there's beetles. Because some people could confuse, oh, they thought that that thing that she jumps into to save herself at the end, which I'll get to, for those who's like, what the fuck are you talking about? There are no beetles in that. It's not acid. They even say it's warm water. You just have to pay attention. So it's not a mistake. But again, that's just one thing I had to point out. But again, it does. My only three little quibbles is I wish both of them could have killed the creature. Just because I like Tom Sizemore's character. Penelope Ann Miller, I would have picked a different actress. She's not awful. I've seen much worse, but you know, I just would have picked someone else. And the teleportation thing. Because it seemed like, well, wait a minute. I mean, Good Bad Flicks, he mentioned it, how it snuck in and killed this guy so perfectly in his chair so that when the other security guard gets in, the head just falls over. But, I mean, those are little things. There's a lot to enjoy about this film. I mean, the beginning of the film with the fire going and just, I'll say it again, John Debney's score just fit the film like a glove. Really enjoy it. And you have this guy who you find out is a character, I believe, John Whitney. And no, I never read the book to this, and I don't give a fuck. Because I know that's one thing people say, the book is so much better. You know, that's an argument that I kind of, granted, I haven't read the book, but that's an argument that I kind of get tired of hearing. I really do. Because, you know, a movie, it can only be so long, but a book can be like 1,000 pages if you wanted to. Just saying. But anyway. Pretty much it's a guy who are with these natives. They give him this sort of soup to drink. And he pretty much, something is going wrong. He's going apeshit crazy. He wants to get this cargo off his ship, and then realizes that he sneaks in and the cargo is the wrong cargo. And you're like, why the fuck is he freaking out? One little weird thing is throughout the film, they get back to this idol, which is the Cathoda being cleaned up. Part of me wonders, like, are they going to do, that idol was going to do more with the film? But it doesn't seem like it does. But I think it's just to represent sort of the theme of what this creature ultimately is. And if you've seen the film, you know what I mean. But I really like Tom Sizemore. Again, is my favorite role because he doesn't get to do a lot of films where he's the leading man, where he's the good guy. And he played it off very, very well. It was like Species. Oh, cool. It's nice to see Michael Madsen as the lead role of the good guy. And Michael Madsen and Tom Sizemore, they kind of look alike. But I can always tell them apart, but they do have a certain resemblance to each other. But it was nice that each of them got their sort of sci-fi horror movie. And with Tom Sizemore, it was The Relic. And yeah, I like that he's a superstitious type of character. I like Clayton Rohner as his partner. Clayton Rohner is a very underrated actor. He was in the original April Fool's Day. He was in this film called Destroyer. He's in another film that I have not seen, but I would like to, called I, Madman. But he was on a TV show I remember called G vs. E, Good vs. Evil. It was released under both titles. One time it was Good vs. Evil, then it was G vs. E, and so forth. But Clayton Rohner, I really like as the partner. I like when they're looking around and you have the typical cat stare, but he goes, was it a black cat? What? And Todd Summers was like, no, was it a black cat? Like, there's another moment where, no, don't step on the body. Okay, it's bad luck. Walk around. So I like that little trait on his character. It's interesting. It's not typical that you see that for a lead character in this kind of movie. And they look around, they find some really torn up bodies, nice practical gory effects. And like I said, it's really cool, the Museum of Natural History in Chicago is an interesting location. And you have tunnels underneath. And when you get to a scene where people with flashlights running around in tunnels and there's a monster in the darkness wondering when it's going to come out, that's a type of movie I really enjoy. Maybe because the tunnels is such a great location, because it's dark, it's claustrophobic, and it's also damp and wet at times, and you can. It's just a great. It's you could be in a city, but at the same time, it seems like you're away from civilization and there's no one else around. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. There's still help, but you're in a world of its own. So I always like those kind of environments. And we're introduced to our characters, Penelope Ann Miller, who's a scientist wanting to get this grant, Linda Hunt, who kind of runs the museum. This guy, I forget the guy's name, who's being a dick trying to steal her grant. This older gentleman, played by James Whitmore. They all get this crate from the guy from the beginning, John Whitney, which has these leaves, and Penelope Ann Miller looks into it, and there's this weird fungus type, which you find out later on what the whole deal with that is. And people start getting killed. This guard who's puffing on pot, he gets pulled under and he gets killed. And some nice gory aftermath where his head is over here, looks like it's been ripped off, and then his brain is like over here. And that's the scene where he tells Clayton Roner, don't walk over the body, okay? Just walk around it. Don't step over it. It's bad luck. And I thought it had some fun dialogue as well, where they find the joint, and Tom Sizemore says something like, well, pot's a misdemeanor. Decapitation seems a bit severe. And he's being a good guy. He's being a good cop. He wants to be extra careful. He wants to make sure they check every room, even though they're hurrying him because of the Jaws effect. You need someone to go, we gotta get the party going. We gotta let the celebration go on. We gotta let the gala, it's a gala that's for the museum that happened tonight with the mayor and everybody. We gotta let that go on. And then the line that they used in the trailer that Todd Sizemore says, this guy makes Jeffrey Dahmer look like a Cub Scout. And there's a nice another superstition moment with Tom Sizemore where he's talking with people, talking with Penelope Ann Miller, and she looks at a penny, and he's like, wait, is it face up? No, don't touch it. Face down is bad luck. And she's like, well, every penny counts. And again, I know people have a problem with the lighting, but to me, this is how you do dark lighting right. I can see their faces. I can still see the monster when it's needed. And he wanted to do sort of the Jaws alien where you see a brief touches. I thought this was done right. And again, the creature design, when you see this thing, is it's original and is interesting. And some damn beautiful practical effects, I will say. And again, the CGI worked when you see it, but it's predominantly practical. Of course, at the end when it's on fire, there has to be a CG effect, but there is still some practical, so it's a good mix. When people talk about a good mix, this is an example of having a good mix. But there's still a shitload of practical stuff which works well as with the lighting. And again, the lighting I thought created a nice mood, atmosphere. It's nice to watch for the Halloween season. It's nice to watch late at night. And no, that's not the reason why I'm tired and didn't get a lot of sleep. But I know this was a film that I believe was going to come out in the winter of '96, but then they had to work a bit more on the effects, so then it got pushed back to January '97, which that's a bad month to release any movie, because not many movies Some do, but not many movies become a hit in January, which is too bad. Again, I think this is just a bad rap. I don't deal with the big fucking deal with the hatred for this film. I don't even know what my friends think of this, because I don't think any of them have ever reviewed this film. I don't think did my I don't know if he did actually, if he reviewed this. I can't remember if he did. I don't think so. But he did some nice levity, hints of humor, like the female coroner, where Tom Sizemore's talking to her, is like, do you know what the murder weapon was? And she's like, oh, something big. And then she tells about how, oh yeah, your woman, your ex, got custody of the dog. And he's like, what, was it on the goddamn internet? And pretty much finds out that something's missing with the victim, and then you later on find out that this thing is taking out people's hypothalamus. And later on you find out it's because those leaves have this hormone that it needs. And then later on you find out that the creature is not something that the guy at the beginning sent, or some animal, it's the guy himself who's been turned into this thing, which I thought was pretty interesting. And again, some nice levity where he's talking, and he's Tom Sizemore on the phone. He's like, how the fuck does somebody get custody of a dog? And some little suspense moments. These two kids who are in the museum when it's closed, they get scared. Ultimately, they do get found. Another more, Penelope Ann Miller's researcher, she's hearing noises and she freaks out, runs off. These two cops are searching with flashlights. Again, you get some nice little touches and teases of the creature. Bits of lighting, seeing the tail, seeing little bits here and there, seeing its shadow. But again, some nice moments of levity for the characters. Her, Penelope Ann Miller rehearsing for a grant. And she sort of gives up and just give me the goddamn money. And Todd Sizemore's watching, and he's like, oh, great job. It's really good ending. And while that's happening, with the cops searching, this bum with an axe comes at them, and they shoot him. And they just assume that that's the guy. But Sizemore, again, he's being a good cop. He's like, hey, something's not right here. Something's wrong. What? A bum is just going to kill and steal his hypothalamus? What, he's starting a hypothalamus collection? Yeah, I like some of the bits of dialogue in this flick. Also, you have this asshole security guy who's giving him shit, and actually, like a crybaby. The top size was picked on me. I'm gonna call the mayor. See how I told your ass. And then Tom Sizemore gets him and goes, I want police presence. Well, how much police presence? As much as I goddamn deem necessary. And I like that. He's like, you know what? I want a team of dogs. I'll take them down myself. And he's a man of action, which I like. He's not just a guy who wants to sit by. At the same time, this bud that got into those leaves grows big, about this big, and freaks out. Again, pretty good practical effect, and Penelope Ann Miller freaks out and smashes it. Is able to realize some stuff. This asshole who wants to steal her grant locks her and James Whitmore in to the office. It kind of reminds me of Burke from... The character pretty much is Burke from Aliens. Again, I always love these scenes where in the tunnels where Tom Sizemore and Clayton Rohner and such have these dogs. One gets away and you hear that it's been killed and it gets thrown at them. It's a bloody mess. And Sizemore immediately goes, tells Clayton Rohner, get back there and get him out of there. The cop that's with Sizemore, he gets killed. And again, nice effect. Kind of reminds you of the original Alien, where the shadow is on the remaining dog, and the dog puts his head down, and the shadow goes away. Yeah, it has some nice... I think this is a very well-directed film by Peter Hyams. It's definitely one of my favorites that Peter Hyams ever did. It'd be in my top 3 Peter Hyams films. That's much I love it. It pretty much shit ratchets it up. Linda Hunt is doing this tour with the mayor and such, and this body with no head falls off. And again, it's that teleportation thing. How the fuck did it get from the tunnels and then up to there? I don't know. But I like the scene. I like the effect. It falling down and it paling, and you see the head's been ripped off, and then the panic that ensues. And I like Clayton Rohner. He doesn't have much dialogue, but I like that they try to give him stuff to do, like the door's coming down. He gets a chair and slides, trying to get the chair, but the door just smashes the chair to pieces. Tom Sizemore gets on the radio and tells them, get them. Pretty much Tom Sizemore tells them where they need to go and go there now, otherwise you're going to die. And then Clay Rohner leads them up, and a few stay. The ASO security guy, the non-Burke, he's an Asian guy, the Asian Paul Reiser, Asian Burke, and then like two others and a cop. And they get fucked up. The asshole gets his head taken off, which is fun. The cop gets whipped by a tail and some glasses in the guy's neck. The chicken shit asshole gets his comeuppance. Nice reveal where he looks in a reflection, and great reveal of the monster right behind him, and just picks him up, and you see blood drip down to the ground. Nice, satisfying sequence. I'm trying to think. The reason I pause is just it's depressing the more I think about it. How this will never be in a movie theater again. I'm not talking about this specific movie, although if this was in a movie theater, I'd love to see it. And this kind of movie is never going to be in a theater again. It's not. An R-rated, big budget, well photographed, looks like a movie, monster film. In this day and age, it's either going to be completely crap fest CGI all the way, or it's going to look cheap, or it's going to star a bunch of teens. But even then, how many monster movies do you really get that go into theaters? They just dump them on direct-to-video and go cheap with it. Cheap with the actors, cheap with the effects, cheap with the direction, cheap with the look. I mean, this film does a lot of that very well. And of course this bombs, so that's why. That's what pisses me off. But anyway, Taz Sizemore finds Penelope Ann Miller and James Whitmore. And you have that trailer moment where they look, like, immediately when they find each other, they look and there's the creature. And they close the door, they lock it, it's pounding against the steel door. And then they gotta figure out what to do. You have a nice little scene where Tom Sizemore tells this good luck bullet story and about what happened. This guy turned on him and fired, and he should have fired. I'm dead. And I like when she asked, "Well, what did you do next?" Well, I took the gun away and from him and beat the shit out of him. But he gives the drill up bullet to her. So I like that nice little touch. And I like that they did not go with a love story. They did not push a love story into that. There's a lot of movies that would do that. I like that they didn't do that. They didn't need it. And again, nice stuff with the creature. You get some good hero shots, as they call it, of the creature. When this rescue team tries to get in, one rescue guy comes in, it just grabs him midair, and we see the whole thing where the guy's like screaming, and it tears his fucking head off. Just, I thought that was such a great moment. And then there's another guy who freaks out, and they're trying to pull him up, and when they pull him up, his complete bottom half is gone, and just plop, and just blood coming out of him. It just really, you get your gore moments in this as well, which is very nice. And I like that these characters are proactive. They're like, hey, we're going to help the plane owner and the mayor and all these other survivors who are going through the tunnels. We're going to act as a decoy. And they get these hormones, and it kills like one or two people, but it gets away from the plane owner's group and act as a decoy. And again, I really like that scene where Ty Summers walking back, and then the creature rises up behind him. He starts shooting, and she starts spraying this freezing stuff. And then you get to where he helps, thinking he's helping Penelope Ann Miller, and close the door, I'll hold it off. But then, of course, there's the switcheroo where it dives through the skylight. Again, how it's getting everywhere, I have no idea. It's like Jason Voorhees. It's teleportation. I don't know how. Again, that's one of the iffy things on the movie, but I'm having fun, so I can let it go. And it crashes through, chases after her. It does a scene that reminds me of Alien 3, where the creature is by the woman, and while in Alien 3 it does this to Ripley, here it fully lifts her up. Again, beautiful practical effects of the up close of the creature. Just a great design. It just looks cool. It's just a cool looking creature. I'm not going to describe it for those who haven't seen it. See it for yourself to see what the creature looks like. But, and this is a much better movie than Alien 3. I'm sorry, this is a much better movie than Alien 3. 10 times better, if that, more than that. And a fun finale. After the elixir, she's set up this stuff, throws this jar, which is kind of like what Van Damme does in another Peter Hyams film, Sudden Death, where he has the jars and he throws it and it explodes. She also has jars and makes it explode. Although I will say, I like this film more than Sudden Death. Sudden Death, my problem with Sudden Death, A, it's a bit too slow for it to get going, and B, my main problem is Van Damme's stunt double, fight double should get co-credit, because he's in about as many scenes as Van Damme himself in that film. You watch Sudden Death again, Van Damme's stunt double, fight double, however you want to call it, he's in it as much as Van Damme. It's really noticeable, and it's really hard to watch the movie for that, because of that. Again, that guy should get like co-credit. John Van Damme and stunt guy, fight double guy. But it would have been nice if Ty Sizemore would have helped in killing the creature, but it is what it is. At least they didn't kill him off, which I'm glad for. And she creates this explosion, able to hide in the warm water. That's all it is, folks. They even said before, it's just warm water. And the thing explodes. And what's nice about it is, okay, it running on fire. Or, of course, before that, you have another trailer more where it's smashing through all the doors, chasing after her. That's a nice moment. But yeah, it running on fire, yeah, it doesn't hold up 100% today. But I could deal with it because it's 1997, and I like the idea behind it. I like the photography of it. And also when it explodes, there's at least some mix of practical fire effects, which is good. It's not just 100% CGI green screen. So to some, the explosion may look a little funky, but I like, it's a little bit of CG work, but I like that there's a mix of practical fire effects as well. I do appreciate that. And then you see the remains of the creature, and it's practical. Because let's face it, nowadays they would even do the remains, they would do practical. I know because I've seen it. And when the monster is dead, the movie pretty much ends. I like that you have a nice moment between the two characters where she wants to give back the bullet. Good luck. And he's like, no, you keep it. And he's about ready to step over the body of the creature, but he walks around. Nice little callback. Pull back of the... And of course, by that time, Clay Roner's gotten the mayor and such out. And all the survivors out through the tunnels. Pull back to the museum. John Debney score kicks in. Da, 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 da. Maybe that's why it reminds me of the score to Alien. That da, 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 da. That little part. Maybe that's what it is. It's not a copy. I'm not saying it's a copy. Just it reminds me a little bit of it, which is a good thing. But yeah, I know I talked long in the tooth over this, but it deserves it. There's not many reviews of the Relic, and there's definitely not many positive reviews of the Relic out there, but it deserves it. I don't understand the hate for this film. I think it's a good old-fashioned monster movie, done with a solid budget behind it, very good, capable director. Of course, End of Days, how could I forget? End of Days is a favorite of mine as well. Love End of Days that Peter Hyams did. Pretty soon after this, because that was 99. The cast, for the most part, do a solid job, especially Tom Sizemore. And the guy who plays the Asian Burke, he's an iffy actor, I will say. I thought he was an iffy actor, and Penelope Ann Miller is okay, but other than that, I don't think she was horrible. James Whitmore was good, Linda Hunt was good. I really liked Tom Sizemore and Clayton Rohner. Would have been nice to see a bit more Clayton Rohner. Would have been nice if those two starred, and maybe if Clayton Rohner was the scientist. Or have it be about two police detectives dealing with it, not have to deal with the scientist. That would have been interesting, but still, for the film that we got, I really, really enjoy it. It does surprise me that Siskel Ebert gave it 2 thumbs up. That does surprise me about it. Great effects by Stan Winston, some fun gore moments, very cool location. Again, I really like the moody atmosphere. I know I keep using the same words, but it's the best way to describe the lighting. And overall, just a entertaining monster movie that I've always enjoyed, I've always liked. Call it Alien Jaws in a museum. That's not a bad thing in my book. I think we need more movies like this today. That's just my opinion. But, yeah. Really enjoyable flick. Nice sense of humor at times. Moments of levity. And it was really nice to watch this again. So, that is The Relic. Again, still pretty crappy. And all the features, you get a commentary with director Peter Hyams, which, sad to say, he's very boring to listen to. He's pretty technical. An interview with Peter Hyams, which isn't much, about 10 minutes, and you don't really get much of an in-depth talking about the film. Again, I don't know why Peter Hyams was so hyped. Oh, I got #1. Yeah, and your film still bombed. And then you get the trailer, which I always like the trailer to the flick. And Stan Winston, we miss you. You did great work on the design and the creature effects on this. So, that is The Relic. Thanks for watching. Take care. And yeah, I just wanted to give some love for this underrated flick. I mean, I know it's for Tony, very nice guy, but I've been meaning to review this again because I reviewed it once long ago and it got taken down, I think, for copyright. I just think this gets a bad rap, and it's an underrated flick. You know, these are my kind of monster movies, but that's just me. So either way, thanks for watching, take care, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.